Well, hey there, everybody. Drew here from DAB Studios. Feel free to click that fun little DAB icon that's up there in the right-hand corner. If you like the video, go ahead and that'll take you into the video page, and you can check out other videos that we've done, and you can also then subscribe to the channel. That'll give you an opportunity to get to see the videos when they first come out, and just a little heads up, sometimes the videos actually come out before the blogs do. So if you go ahead and subscribe to the channel here on YouTube, you'll actually get basically insider information. You'll know about a video coming out before the blog comes out. So you get a little inside peek. So today we are dealing with the art of panning, which is a really fun topic. I love panning. Panning's kind of a cool thing. We're doing the art of panning. More specifically, we're looking at the differences between hard panning and soft panning. And there's a big difference. What we're looking at here today is we are still looking at this viola and piano piece that was done by my friend here in the Boise area. It's Merited, you know. It's a good piece here. Let's have a listen to it real fast so that we're remembering what we got here. So yeah, if you've been watching these videos at all, you might be getting tired of this song, but it's just a great intro piece. So we're going to be working on this one for a little bit, just so we're familiar with it. We can see what the changes are and see what we're really working with here. We are looking at a little different window here today, though. This is the first time that I've opened up and we've done what's known as the mix window instead of the edit window. The edit window, you get the normal waveforms. You get to see more what the audio looks like. This gives you more like a mixing console, which is what I prefer to look at and what I look at more than I look at than the edit window. The edit window is great while you're editing. Once I'm done editing, I will minimize that thing. I don't want to see it. Because I want to see the faders. I want to see the pan knobs. I want the basic information. I don't want my eyes to overcorrect my ears by looking at the waveforms. I want to hear the difference, not see the difference. Why? Because I'm old school analog that way. But working into the digital age, baby. So here we go. This looks a little different. Quick rundown. Here's the inserts. Up here you have inserts A to E. This is again in Pro Tools. If you don't have Pro Tools, yours will look a little different. If you do have Pro Tools, yours will look like this. Wow, can't enunciate this morning. Sorry, guys. Two sets of insert panels here. You also have your sends. And sends are kind of like it's kind of interesting. The sends are like a grouping or a bus channel to where you can bus it over. Inserts are essentially, if you're used to analog mixing board days, it's the insert that on the actual mixing console you have your input, so your actual audio input, and then you have your insert, which is your TRS or your tip ring sleeve insert, to where you can plug into an effects box. You can plug into your reverb or your delay or whatever, or a compressor even, and you do your TRS cable, one in, one out from the actual device, and then comes in. That's what your inserts are. It helps me anyway to visualize running an actual patch cable to these devices. And then you have your busing system, which is your sends. In live settings, this is a little bit more common, especially in studios. You know, a lot of times you'll have a couple effects systems total in an analog system. You know, you might have a couple of reverbs or a couple delays, and that's all these are. And essentially that's this right here. I'll try to move the mouse a little slower here. That's these two green ones. We have a delay and we have a reverb, and it's been sent. So we have sent it from over here. So send out. So it's essentially grouping out information and going over into the delay or the reverb. Now I've muted it on the piano. It's something I've been playing with, trying to see if I can get that piano to sound decent with it. So far, it's no. Why I haven't deleted it, I don't know. I just have it there because I like to keep playing with it off and on. And then I have a reverb. So they're both going into the reverb. As you can see here, here's your ins and outs. So your input bus, 9 and 10, or 11 and 12. 9 and 10 for delay, 11 and 12 for that. So I'm sending it, grouping it over into these guys so that I have those controlled. And this is reverb, this is delay. What you can see here is the insert for these groups. I have a delay and a reverb, stock stuff. Not what we're working with today, but it just is a quick rundown as to what this window looks like. Then we have our basic pan knobs, which is your stereo knobs, and then your mono knobs, and then you have your faders and other basic information down here. Take notes if you're doing recording stuff. Take notes as to what microphones and other settings that you've used down here in your little notes section. It helps in the long run. It really does. But anyway, we're not talking about panning today. Doesn't sound like it, but we are talking about panning today. I want you to notice a couple things here on these pannings. We'll do top down look here. So here's the master. Master fader is just a master. There's no panning. There's nothing else here. I don't do a ton on here. Most of the stuff I do is going to be in my main mix, where everything's mixed and put together in the main mix and then out to the master. I usually just use the master as an extra fader. I don't usually use the fader. Yeah, I've been toying with stuff, sorry. I actually just use it to monitor the meters here. So everything's done basically in the main mix. In the main mix, let's look at these pan knobs. Today we're going to focus really here on these pan knobs. Main mix, I always leave completely as wide as possible. So 100% left, 100% right, gives you that full stereo bleed. So there's nothing in between, well, everything, whatever you put anything at, it's going to fit completely where you want it. And that's what you want. Then we have our reverb. I like to set reverb when I do it this way pretty wide, especially in a live recording like this was. Gives it that natural room sort of feel. I don't put it completely wide. Some people do, and it sounds really good sometimes when you do. I usually leave it not quite 100%, simply because if it's live, the sound's coming from in front of you. I like it to feel like it's a little bit in front. So I still keep it pretty darn wide, but not 100%. Delay, less wide, and again, because the audio is coming from in front of you, so it just staggers things. And then depending on the device, I just will pan accordingly. If it's a lead vocal, most time it's going to be straight up the center. So let's talk here for a second. Difference of hard panning and soft panning. So hard panning, to me, there's three different hard pans. There's hard pan left, which is 100% left. Hard pan right, which is 100% right. And then there's straight up the middle. Straight up the middle, to me, at a pan of 0, is a hard pan because it's directly center. It's going to sound, if your speakers are set up properly and you're sitting right in the right spot, it's going to sound like the sound is coming from right in the middle of the screen or right in front of you. But on this, I had it panned about 17 to the left. Why? Because I found that gave it enough definition. It left, this is a soft pan. Anything between that 0 and 100 is a soft pan. And what a soft pan will do, depending on your device, so here in most software-based DAWs on your computer, it'll do this. Most of them will. That if you soft pan it, you're still going to keep some information coming out of the other side. It's just pulling some of it out of that other side and putting into the one that you're putting. So since we're going 17 left, it pulls about 17% out. It pulls about 17% out of the right hand side and puts that extra into the left, so that there's more in the left than there is in the right, which seems to give it a little bit more definition. It still comes out both headphones or both speakers, but it does not. It doesn't just keep it right there in the center, which gives it a little better definition. Piano, again, I did soft pan at 19 to the right. Let's take a listen to this, and I'll put them both up the center so you can hear. In fact, here, let's mute reverb and delay. So we're just listening to these raw channels. Put these straight up the center. So hard pan at 0. So it's not bad. It's just not as defined. Now I'm going to put these back where they were while we're going, and let you listen to the difference here. So did you notice that difference there? It's subtle, which is what I wanted. I didn't want something real drastic, hence a really small move on both of these pans. But it's subtle, but it's there, and you notice it. At least I can hear the difference, to where there's a little bit more definition in the viola. There's a little bit more definition in the piano. Yes, the piano is coming a little bit more out of the right. Yes, the viola is coming a little bit more out of the left. But, that's not the concern. The concern is that definition. And, I've done a bit of EQ work and everything on them to try to keep it still sounding natural and yet coming through in a mono situation. So in mono, when we had them straight up, they both sounded fine. They weren't cutting up the frequencies. Everything sounded good. But they just didn't have that flair. Now let's go ahead and add in this delay and reverb. Notice again that they're wider, but not 100% wide. And I'll play with the reverb here a little bit so you can hear the difference in how that width changes the tone. Adds a ton. The reverb up. So, that doesn't sound bad, and you can definitely hear the reverb. But it just seems really narrow. Do you notice how that just seems really narrow? Everything seems to be coming from the front. It doesn't seem real wide. Here, I'll just pull it all the way out. There's the difference. See how, and you feel how wide that really gets? It does. It adds a ton. Delay does basically the same thing. Really fast. We're coming up to the end here. Really fast. I'll show you what it sounds like if we pan everything here. It's going to sound bad for a minute because we're going to, and that's part of the reason why I had that pulled down. We're going to be spiking this stuff, so you're going to get some distortion on it, but it'll give you a good idea of what this does. Still coming out the right side, just not as much. Nothing out that right side. Now nothing on the left. There you go. Did you notice here the faders? If not, go ahead and, this is YouTube. You can rewind the video a little bit. But watch the faders here on the master. You can physically see when we're moving this. You can physically watch when you pull the left out. That left goes all the way down to nothing, and the red goes all the way up to red line, and vice versa. It's kind of fun to watch. And if you watch when we're playing this, one of the reasons that it's fun to have this panned is you can actually watch it. It's not all even. Sometimes the right channel is a little louder, sometimes the left channel is a little louder, which gives it a natural vibe. And that's what panning does. Panning does this really natural vibe, and it gives things a real authentic feel, and that's what you're aiming for. It's what you want, is that nice, authentic, clean feel to where things actually run the way they're supposed to run and sound kind of like they should sound. Again, right before we leave here, word of advice: do so much of the work early on in mono. Do your EQ work in mono at least, so that you make sure that when things are played in mono, that it's going to sound right. Stereo is that flair. It's that adding, it's that frosting and icing on the cake. And it's so easy to get caught up in that thought that, things aren't working right. Well, I'll just pan this guitar this way and this guitar this way. And now all of a sudden they cut through and everything sounds great. It just doesn't work that way. You're going to find yourself in the same area that I found myself early on, which is running out to your car and going, oh man, this new mix sucks. And that's just how it works, man. Go ahead and mix it in mono, get everything to sound good in mono, then kick it over into stereo and pan things out. And, we'll talk later on about doing reference tracks. Reference tracks are great. Don't let people tell you that you shouldn't use reference tracks. I've had a lot of people tell me, oh, real mixing engineers don't use reference tracks. I know real mixing engineers. Yes, they do. So don't be afraid of using that. It's not cheating. It's a tool of trade. It's something that a lot of people are figuring out here in the box. So anyway, my name is Drew Brown here from Drew Allen Brown Studios. It's DAB Studios. If you like the video, let us know. Give us a comment. Share it off. Thanks, guys. Have a great one.